Hello and welcome. It's Bio here. So, there's a couple things I want to talk about, and we're going to play some Fortnite while we're doing it. But one of the things is Fortnite slash Epic Games, and the reason why I want to talk about that is because recently they are firing or letting go over 1,000 people that work on Fortnite, essentially. Now, I talked about this once before. I don't know if the video's still on here, but I even stated that if they didn't start doing something about cheating, that they were going to lose money. They were not going to obviously be profitable. And that essentially that they're eventually going to start doing something about cheating. It's just is it going to be too late? You know what I mean? To the point to where they're going to end up shutting the game down. You know what I mean? So they're laying off over 1,000 Fortnite workers, people who work on the game and stuff, because it's not profitable. Well, I could have told you that. Oh wait, I did, and I even stated this a while back because I was straight up like, look, if they don't do something about cheating, they're going to essentially lose money. And I even stated, if I remember correctly, I might have even stated that they would most likely have to lay off people just to keep the game going. And that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, as of right now, as far as I'm aware, they're doing away with let's see, no, it's not that. They're doing away with a bunch of their stuff on here, what is it? I think I don't know if they're doing it with the Lego stuff, but they are doing away with like rocket racing and festival main stage and all that stuff. I don't know if they're doing away with the Lego stuff. They might be. I would say that, heck, if they're doing away with the rest of their stuff, outside of this stuff here, I mean, yeah, it would make sense to get rid of Lego also, but I don't know if they are getting rid of the Lego one. But the facts are the facts. They can't make any excuses at this point. They already even stated that it's not because of AI. Like, well, no, duh. Like, I already know this. But they already stated that it's because of the fact that the game is not profitable. Well, no. Not very many people is going to spend a bunch of money on a game that you don't do anything about cheating. If you're not going to do anything about cheating on it, why would, people like me and all my friends and everybody else, people who play fair, why would we want to put money on it? I'm not putting money into a game that won't even do anything about cheating. Like, once upon a time they did, and I put money in it. And I explained this before. If they if they start doing something about cheating, fair players will come back. People will start putting more money in it. You'll be profitable. Duh. But there's a few people that's probably like, oh, that's not why. Really? Because how did I call it? How do you suppose that I called this? That this was going to happen? I don't know, months to years prior. Probably not even years, but probably I think it's been at least months. But I don't think it's been years. Not quite that, not quite that long. But how do you suppose that I called it months in advance that this was what was going to happen? How do you suppose that I just magically did that? You know, like that's the point right there. Is the fact that there's no way, for somebody like me or my buddies or a lot of these other people that do play it a lot, we know what's really going on in the game. There's going to be people talking crap saying, no, that's not why. Oh, yeah? How much do you play the game? How often do you play the game? Right? Like, just in case you didn't quite get the first part of it. But how often do you actually play the game? Because I play it daily, basically. I play other games, but I play this game daily. And the problem with it is cheaters. I've even got video proof. I've literally got it on my YouTube channel. You can't sit there and be like, it's not because of that. There's a reason why they had to start adding bots to the game. Because more and more people stop playing it. Why? Because there's too many freaking cheaters that they're not doing anything about. So there's that. And there's other videos, not even just mine, out there that literally show people cheating. But does that make do anything? No. They don't. If you talk to them, like if you email them, they'll sit there and say they take it seriously. And so you're full of crap. Here, let me explain to you something. If I report somebody for having an offensive name, and they obviously have an offensive name, why do they do something about that? And you know how you know they do something about it? You'll get a notification. It literally pops up and it states, you know, we have taken action against it. Thanks for, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, the little thing that I've talked about before that pops up. So explain that then. Why does that pop up for negative behavior on a freaking gamer tag? Because they obviously did something. So how come whenever you report a cheater, who's obviously cheating, and I have video proof even on my YouTube channel, you can even see where one dude's like using God mode. Guess what? I still never got a freaking notification that that player did anything wrong. So how do you explain that? And then on top of that, even I freaking cheated. Yeah, I cheated right there on a video. Not at, purpose at first, but, because it was like, oh, wait. Like, holy crap, I found a way to get under the ground. But I didn't, stop being under the ground. Guess what? They never gave me, 24-hour ban, 72-hour ban, obviously. You can even go check the stats on freaking, I mean, sure, there's days where I go, day or two without playing. Because my buddy will go a day or two without playing. But it's obviously not because we got banned. You're not going to get banned that many times and it still only be freaking day or two, obviously. So, the thing is, though, is I freaking called it. Literally, because I even stated, and ask anybody that I know. Guarantee they'll tell you the same thing. They'll be like, oh yeah, he called that. He freaking stated that if they didn't start doing something about cheaters, because I even explained to everybody, like, look, they already started adding bots to the game. Remember a time when there was no bots in the game? Maybe that's because there wasn't as many cheaters. Look, it's a bot. I'm just pointing out the obvious. That right there alone proved my point. But, yeah, I mean, you don't add bots to the game if you don't have a problem with keeping a player base, right? And what I mean by that is, well, if it's got a high enough player base, you don't need bots. Because there's plenty of real people. So, the few little differences that they did that made the game worse. What's another bot? First of all, they stopped doing stuff about cheating, right? Then they turn around and not only did they stop doing something about cheating, but they kept messing with like the aim assist, strength, and this, that, and the other. So now it's to a point where it sucks so bad. It sucks so bad. The bloom and the aim assist, all that stuff. It just sucks so bad. It's to the point that it makes it harder for fair players to fight cheaters. Why? Well, because there's some of them that use Cronus in, there's some of them using bot, there's, with scripts and different things, and some of them are cheating in different ways. So when you take, and then there's also the fact that, like with PC players, as an example, you realize how many freaking advantages they get, and then you just give them more. Here, we'll allow you to turn the grass off so you can see through hills that people on consoles cannot. Here, instead of making it to where we can set up crossplay only with consoles, like Xbox, PlayStation, Switch 2, you know what I mean? Like, take PC out of it. Have the rest of it still there, but take PC out of it. Because I got some news for you, but if you look at some of these PC freaking turds, I can't tell you how many PC players we run into on a daily. It's like, it's so ridiculous because, first of all, they could turn their graphics so far down, which, how hard would it be to give a console player the same freaking option? Like here's you some options. I mean, they already do something similar. Because if you do like the 60 FPS, you get like the higher, the higher quality and stuff. Higher draw distances or whatever else. But here's the problem. You put it at 120 and it dumbs certain things down, but not the right things. Because if you look at a PC player on 120 FPS or higher, well, I guarantee you they ain't got grass on their screen. Why not give console players, at least next-gen players, at the very least, give us some options that, you don't have to give us, like, every little option, like a PC. Just give us a straight-up option of, like, high, ultra, medium, and low. With, like, say like medium is sort of, I want to say like medium doesn't completely do away with grass altogether, but it does away with it to a point to where it's like there's still grass, but you know what I mean? It's like you could still essentially see through hills like PC players. And then let the low setting sort of kind of, give you the full-blown, no grass, this, that, and the other, you know what I mean? Or at least give us more settings to work with. Because, here, let me see. What settings do we have to work with here? Here's graphics, brightness, user interface, colorblind strength, motion blur, which is off by default, user interface parallax, show FPS, report performance stats. That's it. We've got no way of being able to do jack frickin' squat to a frickin' PC player because guess what? If they turn the grass off, we can't see their head. They could see ours. They could be on the other side of the hill. Even if we turn the grass off, that would be the only way we would have a fighting chance against those turds. Right? That is one way we'd have a fighting chance to them. 2. Give us our frickin' aim assist back, and don't let PC players sit there and cry. Oh, they have aim assist. I got some news for you. But there's aim assist on PC, because I was on PC, and I played Call of Duty on PC. And you know what it did? It gave me an option that said, aim assist with keyboard and mouse. Huh. I wonder, PC players don't have aim assist, huh? How do you explain that one, then? Okay, so there's that. And then, on top of that, who cares if there's aim assist on PC? You're using your whole freaking arm. Do you understand how different default is? Here, let me explain the difference between default, okay? And I might even have to show it to you, but the thing is 4.4 is the default on a console, right? So imagine this. This is about how fast default is. Probably something like this. It's about how fast default is, right? Maybe a little bit faster. Now, if you're on PC, default is way faster than this. By like a mile. Default, by the way. Without messing with it. So, essentially, if they just barely move their mouse, they could do basically a frickin' 360 with barely moving their mouse. Okay, let's try that on a stick with like a half a centimeter frickin' movement. Now, let's see if we'd still be able to hit our shots if we crank it up so high to the max that we would look like a PC player. Oh, wait! Then we're not going to hit nothing. Again, besides the graphics settings, they have so many different advantages. I was on PC. You have so many advantages. It's not even funny how many advantages you get. They sit there and claim that if you do something that gives you an unfair advantage, that it's technically cheating. Okay, well, PC players have a complete unfair advantage against any console player. So explain how come they're playing with us. It doesn't make any sense. You're literally allowing these people to play with us instead of just, you know, like freaking how they do with Delta Force. Delta Force has a setting to where it says, you know, console only crossplay or all. Okay, well, console only means essentially, you know, considering that Delta Force is only on PS5, Series X, and PC, pretty much like, you know, PS5 and Series X would be essentially the crossplay. So, my thing is why doesn't Fortnite have that? Why can't we just play against freaking, you know, console players, Switch players? You know, I mean, even on Switch, it works pretty well on Switch. I mean, it's not bad on Switch at all. If you're on a Switch too, you can actually be pretty competitive on this game. Like, legitimately, you can be pretty competitive. It works very well. So, but the thing about it is, though, is the fact that no matter what, like, PlayStation can turn off crossplay, but then you don't fight nobody, essentially, because it don't really put you in no games. People want crossplay, but not with PC players. They get so many advantages. Unless you're going to legitimately go on their PC version, right, and basically set it up just like a console, and give them no choices, you might as well just freaking, you know, make it just console-only crossplay type of thing. Right? I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense. Now, I do want to talk about actual offline games, because oh, it's so annoying going online and seeing how many people have no idea what offline means. Literally. Like, you go around seeing all these videos and, oh, well, you could do the single player offline. Yeah. Well, first of all, let me explain something to you. If the game first has to be online, it is not offline. Obviously. If you have to be online before you can be offline, do you get my point? That is not a true offline game. So when you see somebody being like, oh yeah, you can play this game offline. No, you can't. You have to first be online. When you say offline, The way it actually is if you install the game, right? Like, I can install every one of my games without updates, without being connected to the internet, and I can actually play them offline. That is offline. If you have to first be online to play it offline, that is not an offline game. And here's the reason why. Shut off your internet. Try to play it offline, genius. Tell me how well that works. Because guess what? It's not going to work. Because if you have to first be online to play it offline, I got some news for you, but it ain't going to freaking work. If you turn off the internet and then try to do it offline. So therefore, it's not an offline freaking game. Obviously. If I install Borderlands 4 with no internet, guess what? I can play it. But also, guess what? If I install a game that requires internet in any shape, way, or form, so if I plug in Call of Duty hard copy, and you're telling me I can play it offline, oh, okay. Well, don't I have to first be online to play that one offline? I mean, if you're doing like something like Cold War, because you have to install the game through the internet. Or you can't actually frickin' play it offline. It basically defeats the purpose of offline. Look up what offline means in a dictionary. Offline means it does not require internet. Get the frick out of here. I mean, think about it. You honest to God think that something is going to be offline if it requires any kind of internet first? That does not make any freaking sense whatsoever. None. Obviously. Offline. Think about what offline means. Look it up in the freaking dictionary. Seriously. Offline means no internet. Because you have online and offline. Online is obviously connected to the internet. Offline is obviously not connected to the internet. So when you see all these videos of people doing these games that require internet to be able to do the game offline, they're full of crap that it's an offline game. I'd love to see you try to install it and play it without the internet. Yeah, that ain't happening, is it? Now you can say single player. I mean, sure, you could say single player. You know, even if it requires internet, you could say, oh, what's single player? But that doesn't mean it's offline. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference between offline and just, you know, saying, if you say single player, that's one thing. You say offline, that's a whole nother ballgame. Like, as an example, there's some people that sit there and try to say that you can play freaking NBA 2K26 offline. You can even look it up, and even AI says, oh yeah, you could play it offline. You could do like play now and this, that. No, you can't. Install that sucker on a PS5 without internet and see what you can play. There ain't no play now. The only thing that's on there is like freaking tutorials and like Blacktop, you know, just certain little things. Outside of that, though, there's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not offline. You have to jump off, buddy. Where'd he go? What the heck? No frickin' way. No! What? He freaking no-scoped me. Wow. Oh, you freaking turd. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, the offline, they're full of crap. And something else, when it comes to offline, like when you're watching Digital Foundry, you also need to be mindful about the whole fact that, let's see, are you playing the game off of the disc without any updates? Because you're telling us, here's the performance. Okay. Well, guess what? I got some news for you. But some games actually perform better with 0 updates than they do with updates. Here's a good example. World War Z. Play the original version of World War Z without an update, then update it, and tell me which one plays better. Because I guarantee you it's the original version without the updates. And I'm talking like even the very first update well, the first or second update that they did to the game even screwed it up. So I'm just pointing out the obvious, but updating is not always better. And like I said, if it's an offline game, you can install it without internet and play it offline. Which is why I cannot stand the PS5 Slim or the PS5 Pro, because they're not offline machines. And people sit there and still buy them. Like, dude, buy the one I have. You get offline. You get, you know, because part of the offline is hard copy. And let's see. Here, let's put it here. Let's put it this way. You cannot reverse an update on a PS5, right? So obviously, no matter what PS5 you get, whether it's the 1000, 1100, or 1200 model with a disk drive built into it, no matter which one of those you get, they're probably going to have new enough updates where you can use the SSD port, right? Okay, so if you're crying about not having enough space, either get an SSD, save up money for it, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, or just try to make it work the best you can. You know, if you just can't afford one. Or you can also try, like, keeping an eyeball on, like, you know, in some of the stores and things, because they might have sales that will be affordable. But here's my point, though. If there's not enough space on it for the games that you want, try to make it work the best you can, because guess what? The difference between a PS5 1200, 1100, or 1000 model versus the Slim or the Pro, let's see, you get hard copy, truly offline, where you don't have to connect the disk drive to a server, obviously. Okay, so there's one thing. So, therefore, you don't have to, you know, like you can reset the system 50 times and still be able to plug in your games without ever connecting to the internet. Okay? You see what I'm saying here? So, without ever connecting to the internet, you can still plug in your games. The disk drive will still take in a disk and work. Okay? Now, if you have a PS5 Slim or Pro, you have to connect it to a freaking server before the disk drive will even work whatsoever. I've tested it. It does not work. That is a door nail. It is a freaking straight up paperweight without internet. It will not work. You can't, it won't even suck in disk or anything, right? Nothing. Won't even try to until after you connect it to a server. Now, the problem with that is well, again, turn off your internet, plug in a PS5 Slim or Pro, and see if you can plug in your hard copy game. Oops, nope, can't do it. So therefore, it's not offline, which makes the system technically a digital-only system. And you want even more proof? Okay. So, obviously, all the systems will do away with, like, their servers and stuff, right? And internet and all that stuff on these systems, right? They always have. They always will. Okay. So, what PS5s are going to work when they do away with the freaking, oh, I don't know, servers? Or maybe the internet or anything with it? Like, what ones are going to work? Oh, that's right. The 1200, 1100, and 1000 models, because the Slim and the Pro will not work because, well, they're digital-only machines. Disk drive or not, they're still disk-only. They're still digital-only machines because, well, again, reset it without internet and see if you can plug in a disk. You can't. It won't even try to suck it in, which makes it, by default, even with the disk drive, a digital-only machine. Okay. Now, let me explain something to everybody out there so I can make sense to everybody. Okay? This will make sense for you. Okay? Now, the 1200, 1100, and 1000 model, the disk drive versions, okay, they're cheaper than the Slim and the Pro. And they have more benefits than the Slim or the Pro. Here's an example. I can reset, as an example, my PS5 50 times. Guess what? What happens whenever I decide to reset it? Without turning internet on, I can keep the internet completely off. Guess what happens? I can plug in a game. I can install a game. I can play the game. You see my point? So, here's the thing about that. I can also do digital while they still have digital. So, wait a minute. I can do exactly what you're doing, but with a better, you know, but cheaper and with a better machine overall. Because, again, you're not going to be able to use the Slims or the Pros whenever, you know, they do away with the servers, or if something happens to the servers, so where they just, you know, completely have to shut down. Which you can't say that'll never happen, because anything can happen to their servers, and if something ever does, guess what? Guess who ain't playing a hard copy game? People that with a Slim and a Pro. So you think trading your 1200, 1100, or 1000 model in for a Slim or a Pro was worth it? Not really. You know, so there's also the fact that, you know, like I was saying, my PS5 still does digital games. I'm just pointing out the obvious. But it still does digital games. That's how I'm playing Fortnite. Just saying. It's a digital only game, because, yeah, you could buy a hard copy like on PS4, but you ain't buying a hard copy on no PS5. That ain't happening. So if I can't buy a hard copy PS5 version, how do I play the game? Oh yeah, it's digital. That's right. So my point is you can pay less money and get a better machine overall. Because not only can you do fully offline if you choose to, you can still do your digital stuff too. And not only that, but I got some news for you. 9 times out of 10, people who have a 1 terabyte built into their systems, SSD, still go out and buy an SSD. They did it on the PS4. They did it on the Xbox One. They did it on, well, every freaking system known to man that could have an external drive or anything like that. You know, they always did the bigger ones. So there is that. Oh, look at this cheating third nugget. Good night. Back to the lobby, punk. Get the frick out of here. Give me your shield. Anyways, as I was saying, before I was rudely interrupted, so yeah, I mean, even if you got, like, say, a 1 terabyte PS4, guess what? You probably went out and bought a 2 terabyte external freaking hard drive. And I'm not wrong. So, you buy a PS5 Slim, a 1 terabyte system, which don't actually give you as much as what you think. Because people sit there and be like, oh, it's a 1 terabyte. The other PS5 isn't a 1 terabyte. It's only 825. And you only get like 667. Okay, let me explain something to you. You get, let's see here. If you're trying to get a Slim or a Pro because you want to download Call of Duty or something like that, you know, that has a little bit more room on it, I got some news for you. But you're not getting as much space as what you might think you're getting. Okay? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let me explain. So, you get, like, if you look at a Series X, or pretty much, I mean, I had one of the PS5 Slims, and I didn't like it. I thought it sucked. I got rid of it. Didn't like it. And you know what I traded it for? I traded it for a freaking PS4 Pro, because a PS4 Pro is better than a PS5 Slim. So there's that. Anyways, so, yeah, the PS5 Slims, I think, completely suck. I think the PS5 Pros completely suck. They're not actually offline. They cost more and give less. Those are the simple facts. They cost more and give less. So, if you have a 1 terabyte, console, like a Slim, you're only getting about 800. Right? You're only getting about 800, if that, when it comes to, well, you're getting about 800, maybe slightly more, if you get a 1 terabyte machine over, say, the base, like the PS5 I got is 825. Okay, so 667 versus basically 800. How much more space do you think you're actually getting? It's a little over 100, if that. If that. So, my point with it is, oh, okay, so if you're wanting to put a Call of Duty game on there, right, and then you want to put, say, I don't know, Fortnite on there, maybe, you might be able to get it to fit, but wait a minute, I can do that on even my PS5. So, you see my point? And considering the size of Call of Duty games, you're not really going to see anybody have multiple Call of Duty games installed, even if they have a bigger SSD. Pointing out the obvious, but yeah, those are the facts. I mean, how many people do you think's going around buying either a 1 terabyte or a 2 terabyte SSD, putting in a PS5 and being like, I'm going to download 5 Call of Duty games? Don't frickin' think so. Just about everybody's got like 1 or 2 Call of Duty games that they like playing. That's pretty much it. Nobody's going around freaking downloading 4 or 5 freaking Call of Duty games. So, I mean, with me, yeah, I got like 8 games, hard copy wise, all PS5. And with all the updates, like what? Okay, so without the updates, I think it's like 400 and some gigabyte, like something somewhere around there. And then with the updates, it's like, and let me see, I think it's like 700 something, I think. So it's kind of a bit different, but that's also including Fortnite though. So that's another 100 gig. But anyways, my point is there's a lot of games that aren't even that big. Because Sony's got this like stuff where the special like software that kind of shrinks games but doesn't ruin the games. So there's like some games like I don't know, like Borderlands 4 is an example. It's only freaking like 27.990 gigabyte without an update, and with an update it's only like 30 gig. That's a 2025 game. And it's pretty good graphically. And, you know, it's not bad. Looks good and everything. So, you know, there's that. And then you got, like, The Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us Part 2, even without the updates, they're only, like, in the 60s and 70s. But it's understandable because, well, Part 1 sort of, from ground up, redid the graphics. And made some of it real time, like the cutscenes and stuff are supposed to be like real time and stuff. And I think the PS5 version of The Last of Us Part 1 is way better than any previous version. Mainly due to the fact that I don't know if it's just something to do with some of the real time stuff, but I don't know. I just feel like the one part where you have to look for Ellie and then you find her at the house and then, you know, he goes by the door. Well, on the PS5 version, he's exactly where you're standing, right? Like he just moves by the door and he's exactly there. But then on like the PS4 or PS3 version, it ain't like that. It's like he's in front of the door, which is weird because it's like, well, he didn't walk that way. He walked over towards the, you know, he didn't walk in the doorway. He walked over here, not over there. And, you know, for some reason on the PS4 and PS3 version, they just, I mean, at least with the PS4 version, they could have fixed that. They really could have. I mean, they could have figured something out. They could have just been like, okay, let's at least move him over this way. No, it's just basically a port that was upscaled. Basically. So, I mean, but that's what you're getting. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like even with the PS4 version, they could have done something with that particular, you know, certain things on there. I mean, I liked the way they still had it, but they could have done some very minor changes to make it at least a little more, you know, because going from the PS3 to the PS4, that was a big difference. People don't actually realize that, like, some of the stuff that I noticed is like with PS3 and like 360, a lot of them games didn't actually, you couldn't even aim down the sights, and if you could, it was like you were clicking in on like the right stick or something, right? Like it wasn't just hold the left trigger or something and aim down sights. right? Like, there wasn't a lot of games that did that at all. So it's not like how it is now, or technically whenever PS4 came out. Because PS4 is whenever a lot of that changed, where it was like, you know, you held the left trigger to aim down your sights, this, that, and the other. You didn't have to like hit a bumper, click in on the right stick. You see what I'm saying? Like, you didn't, there wasn't a lot of that at all. A lot of the time it was just not that. It was quite literally just, you know, so I mean, you know, there was an actual difference. No freaking way. You seriously gonna try it? Whatever. Anyways, I can't believe he was gonna try to jump over here. But yeah, so you know, what the heck? It's showing. Oh, okay, whatever. So, anyways, yeah, even like The Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2, Dead Island 2, UFC 5, Borderlands 4, Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean, I don't need internet for none of those. I can literally install them with no internet, play them without it. Like, because here's one of the things. Here's one of the reasons. So, the way I look at it is, if you have to have internet to, like, how the PS5 Slim is and how the PS5 Pro is, where you gotta have internet to connect the Blu-ray drive to the server. If you have to have that, it ruins game preservation. Which means, why are you still putting games on a disc? There's no point at that point. You might as well just make them all digital. Because if I say I don't want internet, because I went over a year without internet, I didn't have a problem with it. I can survive without freaking internet. I don't care. My point is, though, is guess what? I was still able to play my games, whether it was PS4 or PS5, as long as it was the PS5, the 1200 model, 1100 model, or 1000 model disk drive versions. Now, for obvious reasons, couldn't, you know, play the PS5 Slim because, well, if you can't connect to the internet, you can't connect the Blu-ray drive to the server, which means you can't even play any of the hard copy games, which literally destroys game preservation. If they make the PS6 the same way, I'm not buying it. I'll just keep my PS5 1200. I'll just buy it, like, probably another one. Buy like a PS4 or something, you know, and I'll stick with all that crap. They got games on them. I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me. But I sure as heck won't buy another PlayStation if that's what they decide to do. That's like one of the only reasons why I'm on PlayStation is because Xbox made it to where they were basically just digital. Games aren't on a disc most of the time. And even if they are, you still have to sign into an actual Xbox Live account. Which again, requires internet. Which ruins the game preservation because if you ain't got internet, because first of all, you got the mandatory update, you gotta do it or you can't even make it to the home screen. But let's say you can just magically make it to the home screen, right? Magically. Because you ain't doing it unless you're freaking hacking it or something. And, well, the thing is you're not making it to the home screen without doing that mandatory update, right? Well, then you have to sign into an actual account. You can't make an offline account. So, when I noticed that, with the Xbox One as an example. Yeah, I got rid of it. I got a PS4 because I could still do offline with it. And, you know, when people kept trying to say, well, look at how big, you know, Far Cry 6 is, you know, because I used to use Far Cry 6 as an example. Look how big it is. Yeah, but the thing is even the PS4 version's on the disc. The PS4 version is on the disc. The PS5 version is on the disc. So why can't they put the Series X version on the Xbox disc? Oh wait, that's not Sony's fault. That's not nobody's fault except for Microsoft, because they decided to stick with regular Blu-rays still instead of upgrading to 4K Blu-ray. But it probably wouldn't have made a difference, seeing that you still can't, you know, just turn an Xbox on, get to the home screen, make an offline account, like you used to be able to do. You know, Xbox 360, original Xbox. Those two. Just saying. But with those two systems, you could make an offline account. You didn't have to be online. Now, there's a lot of people that will try to argue, oh, this is new day and age. This is new day and age. Everybody's got internet. No, that's not true. Not everybody has internet, for one. And not everybody has good internet, for two. So, you know. And then for three, again, let me ask you something. How well's Call of Duty Black Ops 7 doing? Oh, yeah. Like crap. Why? Well, if you look at a bunch of the reviews, most people complain about, I don't know, not being able to pause the single-player game because it has to constantly be online. So there's that. So I'm clearly not the only one complaining about things like that. So yeah, I mean, there is that. I'm sorry, but I prefer to be able to plug a game in, even if I have to install it. Plug it in, install it, play it offline truly, not with some bullcrap, you know, requiring some kind of bullcrap update, requiring to have like an actual account. Like, if I just want to frickin' play it offline, why do I need to have an internet connection? It doesn't make any sense. There's literally no need for an internet connection. And yeah, I would rather play, you know, oh, okay. Like, if they have it set up to where it's like an online and offline game, it still needs to actually be truly offline. You know, on the disc, you can install it, you know, without internet, and then you can still play it. Because I got some news for you. But when you go digital, like when you buy PS5 Slims and Pros and you're going digital, I got some news for you, but you don't own those games. So if you like buying a game and you like it a lot, just like a movie, and you want to buy it, well, guess what happens? You don't own it. Guess what happens? They can take it away from you anytime they want to. Guess what happens when they do that? You have to turn around and buy it again. So if you really like a game, I don't think buying it digital is going to, you know, help. Because you don't own it. They could take it away from you at any point they want to. All you gotta do is read the fine print, and it literally tells you that. And heck, even I've bought in digital games. Guess what? I don't somehow magically own them anymore. And I've even stated this before. Serious Sam, the collection. It's digital only. I've got trophies for it. So how do you explain that I have trophies for it, but yet it says I have to buy it again? How do you explain that one? If they don't take them away from you. And for even more proof, I even have co-op freaking trophies, I'm sure, on that. Which means you clearly have to own it. You can't just be playing a demo. But I don't think demos even give you trophies though. You actually have to have the game to get the trophies. No matter what it is. But, yeah, I mean... I don't know, I don't think it's worth buying a PS5 Slim or PS5 Pro over the original PS5s. The 1200, 1100, and 1000 models. The disc-based versions. I don't think it's worth it because, one, you're paying more, and you are literally getting less. Because you're buying basically a straight up digital only machine. You see what I'm saying? So you're getting less. Because because if you look at the 1200, 1100, 1000 model, you're getting a hard copy offline machine if you want it. Oh, I kicked him. That's a bot. A bot? That might not be a bot though. How's that not hitting it? Oh, now the teaming. Nice. Nice job, teamers. Anyways, so, yeah, I mean... Why pay more and technically get less? Because here's the whole point about the server thing. When they shut down their servers or if something really happens to them, you won't even be able to trade your system in. You literally won't be able to even do that. So, what's everybody gonna do with all these PS5s that they can't play anymore? They can't just get rid of them. They gotta throw them away. So, I mean, I'm just saying, but, because when you buy something that's digital like that, right? They shut the internet off of it, on it or servers down or anything. Guess what? You are not going to be freaking trading it into a store because they won't take it. See, if you want to try to trade it in, and it's not going to work. It just ain't because, I can take an old Nintendo, a regular Nintendo, and trade it in. But I can't take an old Xbox One digital machine. Well, I don't know if they made any 360s or not. Did they make? I don't think they made any digital 360s. I know with Xbox Ones they made some digital machines, and considering that they are starting to turn a lot of the stuff off on them, before long you're not even going to be able to trade those in because they're going to be useless. And the Xbox One's completely are still going to be useless because as soon as the internet or servers go off on it, you won't even be able to sign in or nothing. There's no offline account. You won't be able to do anything. It's a paperweight. That's why I refuse to buy a Series X, because I'm not spending $600-700 on a freaking machine that's a paperweight. Why? Who's going to spend that much money on a paperweight? Not me. I got brains. I'm not spending $600-700 on a freaking paperweight. Not happening. And some of you might be like, "Oh, it's not a paperweight." Okay. turn off the internet, reset the Xbox. Let's see if it's not a paperweight. Let's see how far you can get on there without internet. And then you tell me it's not a freaking paperweight then. Because I got a funny feeling you're going to be like, yeah, it's a paperweight. And I'm going to be like, thank you. I'm not going to be like, told you so. I'm just going to be like, thank you. Straight up. So, I mean, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you don't want to go and spend all this money on a freaking paperweight. That's one reason why Xbox can't hardly sell Xboxes. They can sit there and just constantly make excuses, you know, about this, that, and the other, but when it comes down to it, that is why they cannot sell Xboxes. Nobody wants to buy a machine for $500, $600, $700, and it's just paperweight. Nobody wants to spend that much money on a paperweight. If you want to spend that much money on a paperweight, bring your money over here and I'll go get you a freaking rock for free, but you know, you can just pay me to go get the rock. I'll go get you a freaking 5-pound rock, okay? You can have your freaking paperweight. You pay me the $500, $600, $700, and I'll go get you a 5-pound rock. Deal? Because that's essentially what you're doing. That is literally what you're doing when you buy Xbox. Or a PS5 Slim or a PS5 Pro. That is exactly what you're doing. You're spending all that money on something you could go get for free. Literally. Those are just the facts. You're literally spending that much money on something you could go get for free. And you honestly think it makes sense to go spend that much money on a system that's a paperweight? I mean, sure, Xbox is expensive as a mother, but the thing is the controllers and some of the accessories, they're not that bad. But then you get the PS5, and, you know, $80 for a controller is kind of freaking outrageous. Just pointing out the obvious. And for anybody out there that wants to sit there and be like, oh, it's because of the tariffs. No, the gaming stuff was pardoned. All the gaming stuff was pardoned. It has nothing to do with tariffs. So don't try to use that bullcrap as an excuse. And besides, let me explain something else to you. How do you explain Xbox? It's made in the frickin' US and costs more than a PS5 or a Switch 2. It costs, let's see, almost as much to buy a PS5 and a Switch 2 to buy one Xbox. So one Xbox costs almost the price of a Switch 2 and a PS5, or 2 PS5s if you Point is, you know, that's out freaking outrageous. Especially when it's a paperweight. If the new lady at Xbox decides to go back to the way it used to be with like the offline account, no mandatory update just to make it to the home screen, games are actually on a disc, you can install and play them fully offline if you want. Sure. See you later, PlayStation. Bye, Felicia. I'm going back to Xbox at that point. There's a lot of people that will disagree with that, but there's a lot of people that will agree with it too. Because back when I was on the Xbox 360, there were very particular games where I was like, this should be an Xbox exclusive. because on PlayStation it sucks. You know, and here's an example. So with like a lot of the Ubisoft games back then. So if you look at like Ubisoft's Rainbow Six Vegas, on the 360 version, you could play the entire level before you would get to a loading screen. However, on the PS3, for some odd reason, they decided we're going to have a loading screen here, a loading screen here, and possibly a loading screen here before you get to the end of before you get to the end of the level. So that's sort of like, okay, so why would I want the PS3 version, right? And generally, back then, the Xbox 360 version, or original Xbox version, generally, you know, just looked and played better on the Xbox. And what I mean by that is, if you go back and maybe you can find videos online, but look at freaking Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, what the heck's it called? Chaos Theory. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory for original Xbox versus PS2. The PS2 version was dog crap. The original Xbox version, that's where it belonged. Even Call of Duty, I felt, just generally belonged on Xbox at that point. Now it's like, it could be on either one, but, you know, with the whole internet requirements with freaking Call of Duty anymore, yeah, just keep it on Xbox until they decide to turn their crap around. Then go back to the offline stuff and having an offline account, not requiring internet or anything like that, you know. Because, especially this day and age, do you really want to pay all this money for a machine that's digital? That one of these days, you're not even going to be able to trade into the store, it's just going to be a paperweight? Or if something happens, you lose internet, it's just going to be a paperweight? I mean, I'm just saying, but you really want to pay that much money? I mean, some of these companies will lose money, like PlayStation, even selling it $500. But yet they still kept selling it at $500. Because Sony cared about the player right up until the PS5 Slim and Pro, then they obviously stopped giving a crap. Because at that point, they just made digital machines that require internet. So, you know, I think the PS5 Slim and the PS5 Pro ruined Sony. So if they decide to make the PS6 the same way they did with those two, yeah, you know, maybe Xbox will go back to the way it used to be. Offline account, internet requirements, all that type of stuff, games don't exist, you know what I mean? They go back to that, I'll switch back to Xbox. But if they don't, and then Sony decides to basically do what they did with the PS5 Slim and Pro, then I'll just stick with the PS5 and PS4 and stuff. Because at that point, there's no reason to even get a PS6. Because I'm not spending that kind of money on a system that's a paperweight. Not going to happen. And I'm not going to be part of the problem either, because people don't realize when you just buy digital-only systems like that, you're part of the problem. That didn't work either. That did. But yeah, I mean, it's just how it is. Okay. What the heck? They're not fighting the bot outside. Oh, they know each other. Yeah, they freaking know each other. That's crazy. I can tell they know each other. Okay, now what's the other guy's name? Anonymous 310. Yeah, because they clearly know each other. Because in case you guys didn't notice, they didn't even sit there and, you know, because if they, you know, when you don't know each other, right, you kind of crouch up and down being like, hey, let's be friendly, right? These guys didn't even do that. Like they're talking in Discord and they're just in the same match together. And they're the last two people. Because they clearly didn't just, you know, hey, let's be friends type of, you know, crouching up down or nothing. You see what I'm saying? So it's just obvious. Look at that. I mean, there's no... They clearly know each other. They're literally... I guarantee you they're in Discord together and they're talking to each other. But Epic ain't gonna do that. They don't care. It's on video. There's the proof. They clearly know each other. That's just obvious. So, I mean, how much more obvious do you get? I mean, they didn't even crouch up and down like, let's be friends. They just, I mean, come on. Really? But Epic ain't gonna do nothing because I didn't report them for their offensive gamer tag. Okay? I didn't. Now, if I want to go in and see that last guy's name, we're going to. Let's go in here and see what that other guy's name was. Because maybe if they're both on PlayStation or something, or both on Xbox, I can actually see if they're friends too. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go towards the end here. Or it was basically them two left. Okay. So. I think it was that one, was it? Okay, so I'm totally trash. Yeah, I'd say he's probably PlayStation. Let's find out. Because he's going by Anonymous. Okay, come on. Come on now, you can do it. Really? It's really gonna act that way? Oh, come on, for crying out loud. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. Let us switch here. If it'll freaking let me. It's not even letting me move around. Something's weird with it. There we go. Hey, let's see if that'll pop up yet. Nope, still being goofy. Okay, so let's type any other guy's name. Okay, so it's A. What is going on? Okay, let's go back to the lobby and try it, I guess. Maybe there's just a glitch inside there that's just causing it to be goofy. Okay, now let's try it. Okay, so that one's PlayStation, as you can see. And that one's PlayStation. So they're probably just in the party with each other. He's online on that one's online on PS4. Um, and then the other one is saying last online a month ago, but they were just playing recently in Fortnite. Shocking. Uh, there it is. There we go. And let me see the other guy again. I'm gonna check something just to make sure. Okay, so here's the thing. So if you spell out somebody's name and you spelled it right, it's generally the first one. However, if you scroll down and there's one exactly the same, then it could be that one. But in this case, yeah, it's obviously the first one. And I'm gonna check something real quick. I want to see something real quick. Sorry, video's gonna be paused, but I'm still here. I want to check something. Okay, so that one's hidden in their friends list, but the other one may not have. Because people hide stuff like that all the time, because yeah, they didn't hide it. Um, Let me see here. I'm trying to check something here. I'm gonna have to look at the other guy's name again real quick, because he goes by something different, I think. Even on PlayStation, even different than that, I think. Yeah, WGRIGA. Okay, so I gotta look for that guy on the other guy's friends list, because I guarantee he's on there. And if he's not, that don't mean that just because I don't see it that he's not on there. Mainly due to the fact that the guy's been offline. It shows him offline. So, um, and I don't know if you could see somebody else's offline friends or only the ones that are actually online. Oh no, you can see the ones that are offline. Okay. Yeah, because even if they're not friends on a PlayStation itself, they might have just met a little bit ago also, when you think about it, and just haven't accepted friends requests yet or something. Or in some cases, I mean, they just might not be friends on like the systems, but they are on like Fortnite as an example, so that a way, if somebody like reports them or something, say with like PlayStation or something like that, then it doesn't show them as friends, you know? Not everybody's, there's some people that try to be tricky. Put it that way. Some people, they try to be tricky. But I'm not sure what's up with this guy, because apparently he's got people named Diddy, like P. Diddy on here, on his friends list, which is a bit wild, especially with everything going on. Hmm. Yeah, I used to have I think it was like over 600 or 700 people on my friends list, but there was a lot of them that just didn't get online anymore. And we're talking for like over a year type of stuff, you know. But I'm checking now. I haven't quite made it down there yet, but getting close. Okay, hang on a second here. Yeah, I just want to make sure it's like, because I know it's usually in order by names, but like alphabetical order, but there could be some cases where it's not with certain names, as weird as that is, because it does it even on Fortnite. Okay, hang on just a second. We're getting close. Okay, is he on his friends list? Not seeing it so far, but again, that doesn't mean they're not friends in the game itself, because they could be friends like on the game itself, but not on the systems, just to make it look like if somebody does report them or doing exactly what I'm doing, they can try to hide it more. You know what I mean? Because some people will try to hide crap like that. They will too. They'll try their hardest because like I said, they could be friends on the game itself, but not necessarily the systems. So, anyways, I think I'm gonna go ahead and hop off here for now. Yeah, probably do another stream probably sometime today. Um, Not totally sure what time or what game, but yeah. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. And if you did, please give it a big fat thumbs up. Maybe subscribe if you do. Please turn your post notifications on. Make sure to set them to all. Thanks for watching. Have a great, blessed night, and I'll catch you later.